All right, so we'll get started. Welcome everyone to our Smart 2019 series Internship Spotlight webinar. We are excited to welcome two presenters today, Randy Irving from Fedex and Mark Monroe from Teach for America. And before we get started, we'll do some quick staff introductions, although I think I'm the only staff person who's on the webinar today. But let me go to the next slide. Okay. So just so you all can put some faces with names, my name is Melissa May. I'm the director of the Gates Millennium Scholars Program and APIA Scholars Programming. I've been with the organization for about 4 years now, and my focus is on student-centered programming as well as our scholarship administration. The other folks on our team include Arian Martin, who is our program manager, and Michael Blakely, who is our program assistant. Okay, and just to give you an overview of the day, so first we'll hear from Randy from Fedex, who is the manager of diversity and inclusion, and then we'll hear from Mark at Teach for America, who is the director of early engagement, and then we'll have some time for some Q&A. So before we get started with Randy, let me quick introduce him. Well, there we go. Okay, so Randy Irving is the Manager of Diversity and Inclusion for Fedex Services. In this role, he's responsible for aligning the diversity and inclusion strategies for Fedex Services and the Enterprise Diversity Councils. Before his current role, he managed the Employee Relations team for Fedex Services, which was responsible for HR business, consulting for all functional areas of Fedex Services. Over his 20-year career in human resources, he's led HR initiatives responsible for implementing strategy to support business areas including finance, marketing, and its benefits. He recently celebrated his 11th anniversary with Fedex Services, and before joining Fedex, he was the HR manager at Roadway Express for 10 years. He holds a bachelor's degree from University of Tennessee at Martin in business management and an MBA from Union University. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Randy.
Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I have got to update that bio because I've celebrated my 15th year at FedEx now. So I got to make myself a note to update that. So I definitely want to thank you for having myself and Mark here today. For all of the students that are out there in webinar land, we thank you for being with us today, and I am very appreciative to have this opportunity to share our internship opportunities with you. So if you would, please take us to the next slide.
Mm-hmm.
And one housekeeping thing, I will ask some questions, which I'm about to ask the first question now, and these are real questions, not rhetorical questions. I'd like some answers so we can be interactive with one another. If you would, so we can avoid all of the static and people stepping or talking over each other, respond via chat, and I'll respond back to you verbally. So tell me a little bit about who we have on the line. What are some of the majors that we have on the line? Well, I see we've got Lena on the line. What's your major, Lena?
You guys can go ahead and input that into the chat feature.
Okay, I've got the chat feature up. I don't see anybody responding. Okay, so let's go to the next. Okay, I'm actually a senior in high school, but I'm interested in majoring in biomedical sciences. Wow, Lena, that is a great major. You will always have opportunity to work with that major. So Young is studying education. Definitely need educators. Annie Zhang is a senior in high school interested in psych and computer science. We have someone that's having difficulty joining the audio, so we understand. Hopefully you'll work through those difficulties. If you would, go to the next bullet.
Sure.
So we got some high school seniors on. Do we have any college students on? When do you graduate? And do any of you, even the high school students that are on the line, how many of you have a resume that's already complete? Okay, have a resume and we'll graduate this spring. Wow, okay. Okay. Go to the next bullet for me, or the next slide. How many of you have already interviewed for either a job or an internship? Okay. We got one person that's interviewed for jobs. Someone's interviewed for an internship. So typically when we have a little longer with this presentation, I've got some slides around preparing for interviews and some slides for preparing your resume. Since we only have 15 minutes, I probably won't be able to get into those today. If you would, go to the next slide for me. Okay, so now we're going to ask you how much you know about FedEx. We're going to see how many people actually prepared before this. And make sure you just hit like one button at a time, because it's going to drop down with the question, and then I don't want the question and the answer to pop up at the same time. So if you would, hit it for me. How many airplanes do you think that we have in the FedEx fleet? And feel free to guess. You won't hurt my feelings if you get it wrong. Not very many people come close unless they have actually looked online and studied a little bit about FedEx. Okay, one person said they just know it's a private company, private shipping company, which that is the majority of what we do. We do ship packages, mostly business to business, but we are getting more into the e-commerce space. But in order for us to ship packages as efficiently as we do, we have to have a big, robust IT organization, a big marketing organization, so people recognize the FedEx brand, and a big sales force, so people know about the different offerings that FedEx has for shipping. So if you would, hit it, and we'll see how many airplanes FedEx has in the fleet. 686 planes. We are the largest airport in Memphis. We're the largest largest airline in Memphis. I'm sorry. We just don't move any people from city to city. We move a lot of packages from city to city. So if you would, go to the next one. How many operating companies that actually move packages does FedEx have? And the graphics on that came up kind of funny. 100. Don't quite have 100 operating companies. We've got about 8 operating companies total, but only 3 of the operating companies focus on actually moving packages. Okay, if you would, hit it. So we've got FedEx Express, FedEx Ground, and FedEx Freight. Those are the operating companies that actually move packages. And now for the last question. How many shipments do these companies move a day? So now for the person that asked 50,000, answered 50,000 for one, you can go a little bit higher. But how many packages do you guess or estimate that we move a day? 70,000, okay. Getting a little closer. Okay, if you would, let's go ahead and hit the next answer. 15 million packages a day. And that is not counting during peak season. During peak season, hopefully that number will double during peak season, so we can have a good peak season. But we move a lot of packages a day, and it takes a lot of people, a lot of strong teams in order to make that happen. So if you would, go to the next slide for me. So what does FedEx deliver? Hit the next slide. Really, we deliver opportunities. You know, we want to focus on what the packages we deliver actually provide. And so our solutions link 99% of the world's gross domestic product. Next slide. And this is a breakdown of FedEx services. So FedEx services is one of the several operating companies that FedEx has. It's the really customer-focused support arm of FedEx. We have about 15,000 team members, and those team members are responsible for data management, networking expertise, solutions designs, our customer support, customer experience organization, sales and marketing, our big information technology company, which is one of the biggest information technology companies in the South, and then lastly, our e-commerce services. Next slide. So talk about, we're here to talk about the internship opportunity at FedEx. Give you a quick overview of the program. It is a paid full-time internship. It runs from June to mid-August every year. We have positions at several different locations across the United States. It's a centralized program managed by our HR team. Spencer Chastain is the manager that oversees the intern program. Each intern is assigned to a mentor and a manager in the functional area that they'll report for. They will actually have performance-based reviews, and they will work on a lot of team-based projects. One of the great things about our intern program, two big things about our intern program. One, we make sure that the managers provide real meaningful work, and we really want to give these candidates that come in or the students that come in an opportunity to test what they're learning in their curriculums and an opportunity to work on real live important projects. Secondly, all of the functional areas that participate in our internship program, they are charged with hiring. The goal is to hire 80% of the interns that we have every year. So we really want it to be a true pipeline from the universities into our entry-level positions. Some of the highlights of the program, we have a really big kickoff celebration where we bring all of the interns in together to celebrate them joining the company for this brief period of time. We have an orientation program. They get to go on the big hub tour, which is really exciting. We have an executive speaker series where we have vice presidents and senior vice presidents from across the organization come in and talk about the future of FedEx and the culture of FedEx and where we're headed and the strategies that we're using to implement to keep us relevant in the marketplace. We go to a lot of different sporting events and do a lot of different team building things and give everybody an opportunity to see some of Memphis and the other areas where they may be domiciled at. And there's a lot of networking between the interns and our former interns and just our team members in general. Okay. So these are the different functional areas that we have opportunities in. We've got revenue management, finance, accounting and sourcing, marketing and communications, strategy analytics. We've got sales, human resources, our solutions analysts, which provides information for our sales team, and then lastly, our IT organization. And like I said earlier, these opportunities are spread out all across the country. If you click it one more time, I think it'll zoom into where these opportunities are. You can see the dots on the map. So we've got opportunities in Boston, in New York, in Washington, D.C., Memphis, Miami, Dallas, Florida. As you can see, we've got opportunities all over the country. The biggest bulk of those opportunities will be in the Memphis, Dallas, and Pittsburgh locations and Denver, Colorado. But there's opportunities all across the country, as you can see. Okay. And it goes spreads out a little further when you click it again. But why intern with FedEx? I'll leave it. I'm sorry, go back and I'll leave it on that for just a few more minutes. Okay. Like, which slide are we on? So, I want everybody to see where the different opportunities are. But when you go to the website and you keyword search internship, it'll break them down by the different locations where the internship opportunities are. What I would say for those of you who go out and actually apply for as many different opportunities that you see that are relevant to your field of study and relevant to your interests. So let's go to the other slide now. So why intern at FedEx? I really feel it's a win-win for us and you. It gives you an opportunity to work on real projects. We also have a big showcase at the end of the internship where everybody gets to showcase the projects that they worked on and people get to vote on those projects. You get a lot of performance feedback. So it gives you an opportunity to really test your curriculum and what you're learning against, what's actually happening in the real work world space. And then it also gives you an opportunity to provide us insight on, maybe where we should be headed as a company to make us a more attractive workplace. To get an opportunity to establish a great professional network, not only with the other interns, but with people that are already working at FedEx, some of the people that were interns previously, very competitive salary, and you get to see if, you really have the passion for what your field of study is. And lastly, we impact the world. Like I said earlier, our products touch and impact a really big segment of our gross domestic product. So get an opportunity to be really engaged with the commerce of the country, all while you're providing us your innovative ideas for FedEx. This is a screenshot of the website, and if you click one more time, I think it'll go. So when you go in, you'll see, and you can look in and find more information about our benefit plans and the things that we offer from a benefit perspective. If you click and go one more time, you have an opportunity. You can build a career profile. You can join our talent network, and when you do that, you'll get proactive feedback, or you'll get proactive posts on jobs or opportunities that may match your profile. You know, FedEx has a really great reputation, very stable company, a lot of growth opportunities. When you look at all of the different functional areas that we covered first, FedEx is really good about allowing people to move across functional areas. I've seen many people have several different careers. So if you're in one area, if you're in sales and you think marketing may be a better fit for you, you don't have to go to another company to work in marketing. You can go to the marketing department, or vice versa. If you're in marketing and you think maybe IT is really where you should be, as opposed to going to another company, you can test out and work in different functional areas within FedEx services. We really believe in work-life balance, and you'll see that when you're a part of the intern opportunity. And then there's just a lot of great benefits and perks of being part of FedEx. So here's how you apply. If you visit careers.fedex.com and then do a keyword search for intern if you're looking for the intern opportunities, and associate if you're a graduate already and you're looking for full-time opportunities. So now I will open it up for questions.
Yep, and you can feel free to type your questions into the chat box.
Okay, well,
okay.
She has my email address, so if anybody has questions at a later time, feel free to email me, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you have. Hopefully you'll go out and apply, and we look forward to maybe one day seeing you at FedEx.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Randy, for your information. I think one thing that our students oftentimes don't realize is that even if you're at one company that provides one sort of service, that there's multiple different fields that are encompassed in one company or one organization. So yeah. I think that's something to really highlight for our students. But thank you so much, Randy. We will have some time at the end again for questions if anything comes up. But at this time, yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I'm actually in the lobby at Christian Brothers, and I've got another session here that starts at 3:30, so I'm gonna have to drop off. But I do appreciate your time.
Worries.
Like I said, you can share my email address, and for any of the students that have questions, I really would enjoy answering them for them, okay?
Perfect. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
So, yep. So at this time, we're going to transition into looking at internship opportunities at Teach for America. But before I introduce Mark Monroe, I want to ask anyone who's jumped on the webinar later, if you could put in the chat box your name, your major, and if you're attending college, where you're going to school, or if you're a senior in high school, listing that as well. So if you could go ahead and do that now while I introduce Mark. So our next speaker, Mark Monroe, is the Director of Early Engagement at Teach for America. He leads national pilots to evolve the way in which Teach for America recruits, developing leaders earlier in their career through internships and mentorship. Prior to Teach for America, he helped to launch the enterprise product at Coursera and led its go-to-market strategy for small to medium-sized businesses globally. He built and managed partnerships with school districts and leading education technology companies while at Clever. He started his career teaching 7th grade writing in New York City as a Teach for America Corps member, and was recognized as one of 4 regional finalists for the Sue Lehman Excellence in Teaching Award. He graduated cum laude from Claremont McKenna College and received a Fulbright scholarship to study social enterprise and workforce development in Poland. So now I will turn it over to Mark.
Great, thanks so much, Melissa. Hi, everyone. Really excited to be here. today presenting to you all, and am eager to share a bit about Teach for America and opportunities that we have to learn a bit more about education, leadership, and the immense opportunity of systems change. So just to recap on sort of where we'll be headed over the next 15 minutes or so, I want to spend first chunk of time talking through Teach for America, our mission, and really what we see as the charge of your generation before looking at 2 internship programs that we have internally, as well as 2 experiences that we believe help talented college students build their networks for systems change. So Teach for America is an organization that's really focused on finding, supporting exceptional young leaders in the first chunk of their careers who are interested in teaching in a high needs community in a classroom. Leading that classroom for at least 2 years, and then Teach for America supports its alumni in whatever they go on to do afterwards. So I taught 7th grade in New York City for 2 years and absolutely fell in love with the work and working alongside my students and their families. Afterward, I moved out to the Bay Area to work in education technology because I saw an opportunity to impact more than just 120 students each year, and actually wanted to focus on using technology as a lever for social change beyond that. But I want to spend a moment for you to really pause and reflect on what makes your generation unique and the unique opportunity that it has to really shape the course of our nation. And you go to the next slide. So one thing that we believe deeply at Teach for America is that potential is equally distributed across lines of race and class, but opportunity isn't. I saw this every day in my classroom, and children who are growing up in low-income disadvantaged communities don't necessarily have access to the resources or the schools that would meet their full needs. But we do believe that education really can be a great equalizer, and that education equity is an issue that could shape the course of our nation for the coming decades and centuries. If all children had an excellent education, we would have more diverse sort of civic leadership force. Our politicians would be more diverse. We would have more diverse doctors and technologists, and that diversity could really be used as a strength, and we want to catalyze that strength. If you could go back one slide. Great. One thing that we also believe is that education isn't the only issue facing our society today. But what we do see is actually the disparities that we see across lines of race and class in terms of employment, incarceration, civic power, health, actually all tie back to education as a complex systemic issue that doesn't have necessarily a single bullet or silver bullet solution. So whether you care about immigration or LGBTQ rights or healthcare, a lot of those issues actually begin in the classroom in education. And social inequity is actually a pretty complex system that if you gain proximity and start to understand from the inside out, you might have some insights on little things or big things that you can do to actually change that system. So Quote from Brian Stevenson, "We cannot make good decisions from a distance. If you are not proximate, you cannot change the world." And as you're going throughout your education, be that high school or college, we're a firm believer that social change doesn't necessarily happen in a theoretical context. It actually happens in rolling up your sleeves, building relationships with people, understanding their perspectives, and leaning into discomfort. And we think that you have a huge role in creating opportunity for all people. And that begins with education inequity at Teach for America. So as I mentioned earlier, systems change is really what we're oriented around because we know that solving education inequity isn't just getting more teachers in classrooms, it's actually reinventing a system that fundamentally doesn't work for all people. And that's directly connected to our internships and experiences that we've created for college students like yourselves. So our opportunities are really focused on leadership, challenging inequity, and recognizing the complex systemic nature of education inequity, building relationships with other college students from across the country, and I'm share a bit more about 4 opportunities today. So the first opportunity that we have is called the Accelerator Fellowship. It's a paid summer internship for rising undergrads who are entering their senior year. And what makes this fellowship special is that it's really focused on developing the leadership of folks who have an exceptional track record of impact on their college campus. Accelerate Fellows travel to a specific region and they work with one alum of their choice and a core member on 2 projects over a 7-week period tied to education equity and their interests. So some of our past projects have been working with Chicago Public Schools on their strategic planning process and actually rolling that out. We've worked with the New Mexico State Department of Education on education policy at the state level. The Accelerate Fellowship is cohort-based. So one thing that's unique is it's not just you working in a silo, you're actually working alongside 20 to 40 other really talented folks for a 7-week period and getting to learn and grow from them. And a few of the features of the Accelerate Fellowship are a chance to secure a full-time offer to join the Teach for America Core, really make meaningful contributions to the communities in which you're working, gaining a deeper understanding of education and equity, getting to meet nonprofit CEOs, top leaders at Teach for America, superintendents, doctors, lawyers, folks who are really coming up with innovative solutions. And in order to make this an inclusive program, Teach for America has a pretty robust compensation package that includes funds for travel, housing, as well as a competitive salary, because we don't want one's economic status to be a barrier to accessing this incredible program. And next we have our operations associate role. So that's actually an internship for college students who are interested in operations and process of supporting Teach for America's summer training. It's in 4 different locations: Atlanta, Houston, Philadelphia, and Tulsa. We don't yet have the application date for this upcoming year, but last year it was around January 23rd. So be on the lookout for that this January. And the date for Accelerate is actually December 6th. So 2 opportunities coming up in the next few months. And what makes the operations associate role interesting is you're actually supporting instruction for 5,000 summer school students at a given site. You're working with the operations team on projects at the university level, the school site level, to make sure that a whole incoming cohort of teachers can get the training that they need and have the impact that they need to have in the classroom. So if you thrive in contexts where you're building relationships, designing processes, thinking about things at a technical level, this could be an interesting way to fuse passion for social justice and process. And then we have two experiences that I've attended and are really, really exciting. A great way to learn a lot, sharpen your skills, and meet other people. The first is Impact Spring Break. It's a cohort of about 30 college students, passionate, service-oriented leaders from around the country that during their spring break travel to a Teach for America region to work with local nonprofits, be it schools that are starting up or local education nonprofits in the community, and working on service projects that they've identified as being meaningful to their organization or their community. And it's a really transformational program because over just a week, you're able to develop really close relationships and learn a lot about another region which you might not have visited. So this photo is taken in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's where we've had impact for the past few years. We will be announcing the impact region in the coming months, but it's a phenomenal chance to meet new people who are like-minded, as well as make an impact in a short period of time without committing a full summer to something like this. And so you'll see in 2018, the top photo, we volunteered at Greenwood Leadership Academy to paint murals. We volunteered with people with physical challenges and learned about privilege in that context. And also worked with Ellen Ochoa Elementary School, where we focused on enhancing extracurricular settings, making the school a more beautiful place. And lastly, we have the RISE Student Leadership Conference. This is a conference for about 200 folks in a different city every year. This past year we were in Philadelphia, and it's a national leadership conference for top sophomore and junior leaders of all majors. Anyone who's interested in leadership as it applies to social impact. And over a 3-day period, we work to really develop skills that are going to make you a stronger leader, not only in your college campus, but after you graduate. So some of those skills are examining and challenging our biases, coalition building, doing some project planning work, figuring out your personal theory of social change, as well as hearing from Teach for America alumni and being able to network with a really large group of college leaders from across the country. And that's all I have for you today. I'm curious to hear any questions you have, as well as a willingness to zoom out more broadly and just share my perspective along with Melissa and Michael's about what can make you competitive for internships at any organization.
Mm-hmm. And again, you can feel free to put those questions in the chat box. Well, while we're waiting, I do have one question. Oh, it looks like, yes, I can send out a copy of the PowerPoint, Celine. I'm happy to do that. But one question that I wanted to ask of you, Mark, is what are kind of some of the experiences like for Teach for America core members? What sort of schools are they working in? And do you have to be an education major to apply for Teach for America?
Yeah, great question. So to answer your second question first, you don't have to be an education major. Teach for America is really looking for people with the leadership ability to be a phenomenal classroom teacher first, and then ideally go on to shape the education system, either from the classroom perspective or from that of a school, district, or anything outside of that. And so once you're admitted to the Teach for America core, TFA supports you in passing the local licensing tests to become a licensed teacher, and then supports you in pairing you with a high needs school in the region that you're placed in. So TFA places in 50 regions, everywhere from New York City, where I taught, to New Mexico, where we were a few years ago for Accelerate. And we were actually on one of the most, we were at one of the most rural schools in New Mexico for Accelerate on the Navajo Nation, which is some tribal lands in the southwestern United States. And Teach for America at the end of the day is committed to educating all kids. So we place in both rural and urban communities and really want to focus on the education of students everywhere.
And what sort of materials are involved in applying for the experiences and the internship opportunities that you discussed today? Is there a resume, an application system? What sort of materials should students prepare?
Yeah, so I would definitely make sure that your resume is up to date and you've listed all of the leadership opportunities and experiences that you've been involved in, whether that's an on-campus job or leading a club or organization on campus, and thinking through what your impact has been there, the projects that have meant the most to you and have given you the most energy. And then all of our internships and experiences ask their applicants to fill out a few short answer questions on why they're interested in Teach for America, what speaks to them about the organization, the mission, and the opportunity. So I would just encourage you to be reflective, do your research, read through the website to try to figure out what speaks to me here and why does this excite me.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions out there that we can have answered before we break? Okay, I'll ask one more. What is something that applicants can do to make sure that their application is competitive and stands out?
So I would say if you are currently in college and have a track record of leadership, I would say writing your sort of like leadership accomplishments in a way that's measurable. So if I were to ask you, like, how do you know you've been successful in this role? I'd be looking for something related to increased club membership, or when we surveyed people, we had the satisfaction rate. Some way of you being able to point to evidence that your leadership has made an impact. It's really important to Teach for America. If you're entering college, I know that we have some high school students in the crowd, I would really encourage you to get involved on campus in any area that interests you and really let your leadership blossom that way.
Great. Okay, I'll leave an opportunity one more time for folks to enter any questions into the chat box. Okay, well, seeing none, I just want to let me advance. Yep, so I'm sharing my contact information as well as Ariane and Michael's so that we can reach out and share the slides that were shared today. And we'll also post a recording of this webinar on our website in the Scholar Resources tab for you to reference as well. But I do really want to thank Mark and Randy, who jumped off, but want to thank you guys for your time and sharing your resources and information with us today. Super helpful, some really great and rich activities and experiences for students to engage with. So huge thank you to you all, and everyone enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks so much, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.